Hey, this is David checking in here before the podcast starts proper. You may have noticed the name of this episode is not Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey as it was intended to be. Unfortunately, Marion contracted COVID for the first time, actually. She went all this time without getting it and finally did succumb. But she is down with COVID and could not record this episode. So we're going into the vault. You may remember the vault from the Best of the Best episode. That is just the term that we've created in order to talk about episodes that happened before the first episode. Episodes that we recorded as a test. We wanted to see if we had any chemistry or if we even enjoyed this. And it turns out we had some chemistry and we did enjoy doing it. So we kept going. These episodes are little snippets of the beginnings of the podcast. The audio quality can vary, the content quality can vary, but overall they're fun and we wouldn't be posting them if we didn't think they were worth listening to. So while we will be back in 2 weeks with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, until then, please enjoy Halloween 3 from the vault.
Hey everybody, this is Marion Cowig Owen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple discusses the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today, I was made to watch Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3, of course, is the third in the Halloween, what is it now? There's like 10 or 11 of these movies.
I have no idea. I don't know.
In the holiday, in the Halloween subtelogy, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, 1982. Nobody in this movie that you would know, and directed by someone that you wouldn't know. Although John Carpenter produced, so it is an official Halloween sequel. We'll get into a lot of that. But if you've not seen the movie, the biggest thing is no Mike Myers. No Mike Myers.
Do we call him Mike? I mean, there's no Mike Myers.
No, right. No, I meant the comedian. I meant the comedian Mike Myers.
Right. That's true. He does have a horror series, but that's totally different.
No, Michael Myers, not in it. Comedian, Austin Powers actor, Mike Myers, not in Halloween 3.
I mean, that was a little bit terrifying, that series, but that's a whole other discussion.
So anyway, yeah. Sequel without Michael Myers in it. It takes off in a whole new direction and just basically a horny doctor finds a conspiracy at an Irish Halloween mask factory.
Irish with air quotes.
Yes. It's the most Irish. It's called Silver Shamrock.
As an Irish American, I object to some of their attempts to seem Irish,
and he somehow ends up investigating it, and then the movie happens. So there's little touches of Stepford Wives, kind of, yeah,
and a little bit Twilight Zone. Honestly, is what it felt like to me.
Sure. There's also this.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Do you like this song? Because if you don't, you're in trouble.
You're going to hear it a lot.
A version of the song plays about 25 times during the course of the movie.
I especially like how this company, I mean, they really thought through parts of their plan very well, not other parts, but they made umpteen versions of this ad. So on October 21st, it would say 10 more days till Halloween. And on the 22nd, 9 more days till Halloween. How long has this been going on? I don't know. Like in August, would it be like 87 days to, I don't know.
It's a marketing strategy. You have to admire it. It's a great marketing strategy.
Sure. Sure.
So before we started this, what did you know about Halloween as a movie series? Because you asked me a question when I said Halloween 3.
Yes.
What did you ask me?
I don't remember.
Is that the one with the hockey mask?
Yes.
And I said no.
I have to. So we should. The only one of the 80s horror series movies that I've seen is I saw one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I don't even remember which one. That's it. None of oh my God, I can't talk. None of the Friday the 13th, none of the Halloweens, none of the other things. So like I'm a little unclear on which one's Jason and which one's Michael. So yeah, I did need to clarify what's covering his face in this one.
Yeah, there's going to be Halloween October, there's going to be a lot of these wrongs are going to be righted.
Oh dear.
But yeah, so
All right.
what you knew about Halloween
Very
was
little.
that it had a killer in it,
Yes.
and he wore a mask, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that is Michael Myers, and that is his lack of inclusion in this movie is one of the reasons that for the longest time this was thought of as the worst Halloween movie. Then H2O came out, and since then other movies have come out that are way worse.
Well, that was nice of them to
But
come up with worse ones.
Right, but you got to think like you've just seen Halloween and Halloween 2, and you're going into this expecting something, and I don't know how clear the marketing was because I was 3 when this movie came out, but yeah, a lot of people were really, really disappointed. I think that led to this movie being unfairly judged and unfairly categorized as a bad movie. I'm not saying it's good. I don't think anyone is, but recently this movie has had a bit of a renaissance, if you will, of people coming back to it and saying, hey, now that we have seen way worse Michael Myers stories, maybe it would have been cool to still be living in the world where there were 2 movies about Michael Myers, then there was this movie, and then the 4th movie was something completely different, because that was, I think, John Carpenter's intention was to turn this into an anthology series, and every movie from here on out could have been something different.
I was reading about that, and then yeah, I think it's having it be the 3rd in the series that makes it very strange.
Right.
If you've had 2 movies with the same crew, I'm guessing Halloween 2 is basically a redux of Halloween 1, as most horror series
It basically
are.
picks up like right after, I think.
Yeah.
As I
So
recall.
yeah, so you spent 2 movies with the same crew, and then when 3 is different, that's just kind of weird.
Sure, yeah, and I think the justification for it was, well, there was no more Michael Myers story to tell at the end of it, and they wanted a
Don't
sequel.
let that stop you.
Oh,
Come on,
and
now.
they didn't, and they didn't for like 10 more movies. They didn't let that stop them.
There've been that. Oh my god. Yeah, I see.
I
I
mean,
don't.
It's a lot.
Is this? So I remember for the Friday the 13th ones, they would put a new one out roughly every time there was a Friday the 13th. Did they do that with Halloween? A new one every Halloween?
I think at first it was pretty close together. I mean, this came out in time for Halloween. It came out in October.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if your movie's named Halloween
Yes.
and it's not coming out in time for Halloween, like you've messed up.
You can't put that out in January.
Right, no.
That's not a good idea.
So yeah, I mean, I think as far as that, I don't know if they were hitting, because that wasn't really a thing. Like movies took a long time to make in the 70s and 80s. There was no like, oh, we're gonna 3 months on location, shot, done, and then that was it. And you put it in the special effects pipeline and start shooting the sequel before it's
Yeah.
even out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was none of that. So yeah, I don't know for sure. I'm sure I have a computer in my pocket that could look this up, but why should we start taking
It's more
that seriously
fun
now?
to speculate. So
Right. So yeah. So what? So hit me with some of your what are some of your favorites?
Jeez. Well, so it's interesting. You were talking about the first. What do we know about the first 2? A killer and a mask, and then there is a mask connection here. So that's
Right.
sort of funny. I don't know if that was on purpose, but
I think it was. I think they were
Okay.
kind of keeping it. Well, they certainly were keeping it about Halloween, and I think they were kind of keeping it on point. And
I get that. But I mean, like that the mask features.
right, that it's
so,
right. No, I
Yeah,
think that they were
okay.
keeping it on point. That
Okay.
it's there's a killer in a mask, and now
Yeah.
the mask is the killer.
is the killer. Yes.
Whoa.
Well, and it's funny to look at that now as we record this when we are in month 165 of quarantine during coronavirus, and
Yes.
and it's wear your mask, wear
Wear a
your
mask.
mask, wear your mask, and then they're telling the kids turn on the TV and don't forget your mask.
Quarantine. Yeah.
5 more years of quarantine. So yeah, that's just a little chuckle that because
Yes.
I'm at you got to choose to laugh or cry about wearing masks in quarantine at this point, and I got to laugh. But
Yeah.
speaking of laughing, I laughed more during this than I think any other horror or air quotes horror
Horror.
movie that I've seen, which is kind of a
Yeah.
theme of some of the movies that you and I have watched together
Yes.
now. So
Yeah, I don't know how like straight up. There's some jump scares in this movie, and there's some scary imagery, especially if you were a teenager or younger. But yeah, I mean it's by today's standards, it's very campy.
It is fairly tame. And yeah, like I know you love to watch me jump, and there
Oh,
were
yeah.
a couple of jumps, and I was
Quality.
covering my eyes for a
And
couple
there's a couple of
things.
good gross outs.
Yes, but they're
Uh,
like they're truly gross. It's not like Hostel. It's not like no, it's not going to make anybody vomit.
Right.
It's not
right.
that kind of gross. So the whole thing is sort of campy. And I got to say, like, even though the plot is so stupid, I sort of enjoyed it as it's almost into so bad it's good territory. It's a
Sure,
little
yeah.
bit fresh, a little
Yeah.
bit. It's semi homemade fresh.
Mm,
A lot
mm.
of packaged and lame things, and then you put in some cherry tomatoes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a bottle of vodka.
That's sure. Well, dude,
Right.
it has a lot of drinks.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. Yeah. So Dr. Dan Chalice, played by Tom Atkins, who was your sort of your I need a kind of Tom Selleck, but lumpier.
Tom Selleck hasn't been invented yet, but this is the
Right.
the proto.
Right,
yeah, he's not nearly as cool as Tom
No,
Selleck.
not at all. But the
No.
ladies love him.
They really do.
All of them
Even the elderly, kindly nurse with her little cap is
loves him.
all about having her butt smacked by him.
Everybody loves Dr. Chalice.
Chalice. What is?
It's a great name.
It's a fabric, but I don't know what it is. Can we call him Dr. Chintz instead?
Sure.
Dr.
No, call him Dr. Chalice.
Dr. Chalice.
He
All
didn't
right.
go to doctor school for. That's
He
a joke.
probably went to doctor school in Grenada.
Yeah.
He has that look about him.
Yeah, he's definitely a veteran of a poorly constructed foreign war.
His medical school was only 2 years.
Right. Yeah. So
Anyway,
so Dr. Tom, who all the ladies love,
Yes.
and basically we start the movie off with a guy fleeing from something, and he's got a Halloween mask, and he ends up in the doctor's hospital. Dr. Tom also horrible dad, horrible parent. Seems to be trying, but he's kind of trying.
Well,
Like-
he has the classic movie shrewish ex-wife.
Oh yeah,
who
yeah.
I think is a little bit over the top, but I try to sympathize with the wives here. And like, yes, I'd be frustrated too if he just canceled on things all the time. But
Right.
the kids don't really seem to have a problem telling him that he sucks.
Yeah, no, he
Like-
bought lame Halloween masks because they weren't Silver Shamrock.
Yeah.
Only
And
the cool kids.
And immediately when he gets there, they turn on the TV.
yes, and
So-
look for the Silver Shamrock
Yes,
ad because everybody
yes.
loves the Silver Shamrock ad
Yes.
in this universe. Also, another thing about this universe that I don't think we said yet is the movie Halloween exists in this universe.
I did enjoy that. That was a nice callback.
and that's kind of
Yeah.
your that's
the level we're at.
Your
Yeah.
hint
Yes.
that Michael Myers is not going to be in this movie. Stop.
No.
Although I do think I saw, and I haven't looked on the internet to confirm this. I feel like there was a Michael Myers mask, a shape mask, in the Silver Shamrock factory that they panned past kind of quickly.
I looked at the cast list and there is somebody who's credited at with Michael Myers and it just says cameo and I don't know what that
Yeah, it-
means, but
it-
so that
yeah.
maybe that was just their little joke.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
this movie's all over the place. I told you, what did I tell you before we kind of got into this?
I don't remember.
I said that at some point this movie just goes off
goes
the
off
rails,
the yes.
and boy, it does. So there's so much to talk about, and these are kind of informal discussions. So, and you should really be guiding it because you're the one that was forced to experience this. So,
Oh boy.
what do you think?
I don't even know where to begin
Stonehenge.
with it. Okay, well, sorry. Can I say I am, like I said earlier, as an Irish American, I am offended at all of the quote Irish things they put in this movie.
Yes.
First of all, the dude who apparently came over from Ireland and built this factory in this town doesn't sound Irish
Connell-
at all.
Connell Cochran.
Connell Cochran. Connell is not the way they spell it. That's not a name.
Yeah, Conal.
Yeah, that's not
Well,
Donald. Sure.
That lady was taking that down. So there's a point where he tells someone to check out
Yes.
Connell Cochran, And a lady writes it down,
Yeah.
and she, who knows if she's
Anyway, sure.
writing the correct spelling of Connell.
So, and everything in this, it's a company town, and everything in this town is the Shamrock this, the Shamrock that, or some Irish pun
Yes.
as the name. There's the Dublin Inn, and it's spelled Dublin apostrophe, as if to indicate that it's short for doubling.
Mhm.
That's not how you English. You don't do that. And then the other hotel, the hotel that Dr. Chintz and his friend,
Ellie.
a friend who's young enough to be his daughter, end
Mhm.
up staying at, is called the Rose of Shannon. Not a thing. Not a thing. There's Shannon is, I believe, a river,
Mm.
but the Rose of Sharon is what it's talking about.
Ah.
Anyway, yeah, I just need to stand up for my heritage there. And yeah, also
no, there's-
Stonehenge isn't even in Ireland.
Not in Ireland,
So,
right? Not in Ireland, right? So there's, I mean, believe it or not, you can poke some holes into this.
yeah, shocking. Shocking, I know.
into the plot of this movie. Yeah, so Conall Cochran from Ireland steals a piece of Stonehenge. There's this little drop in
Yeah.
early in the movie that's like, oh, and we still haven't figured out what happened to this part of stone. Someone stole a 5-ton part of Stonehenge, the Blue Stone, and that plays into the plot later. They're planting those seeds, and yeah, it just gets ridiculous. The whole movie just gets ridiculous. I mean, you've got this doctor who just decides to abandon his responsibilities with his children and his job,
Mhm.
and go with the daughter of
A patient
of
who
a
died.
patient who died, who is what he brings them to this. He's a hardware store seller, general store guy, whatever. And he went to pick up some masks, and then it all went wrong. And she has now come to identify the body, and that somehow turned into them going on an adventure.
Yes.
And they're going on an adventure to Saint Mira something.
Santa Mira.
Santa Mira.
Yeah. Which, yeah. So hardware store owner had to go to the factory to get the masks. And that apparently is just company policy. You have to come to pick them up. That seems like bad business. That's not a good practice.
Yeah, maybe because they're local, like they're in California. So, because the implication is that this is a nationwide thing.
Yeah. Later they show people with the masks in Phoenix
All
and
over.
Ohio and everywhere. And I want to know, like, do we have people taking campers cross country? I mean, the one family came from San Diego.
Yeah, so they're coming from all over.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Once again, there are holes in the plot of this movie.
Yeah,
But yeah, this movie, it just goes crazy. So, you've got your Happy Halloween song, and the end game for Conall Cochran is that he's going to put a mask on every child, and then as a practical joke of sorts, because he's a witch, or he traces his lineage back to Irish witches, they're going to turn all the kids into bugs and snakes. To turn their heads into bugs and snakes.
Yes, because apparently Halloween, as practiced in Druid times, was a time of sacrifice. They sacrificed children and animals.
Mhm.
I'm not up on my Druid isms. That
Right.
doesn't seem correct.
Yeah, so he talks. He has a great speech in his posh English accent, or posh Irish accent. I don't know, where he talks about how Halloween is a time where the veil between the worlds is thin, and back in they were huddled in their mud huts in Ireland, and they didn't know, his ancestors didn't know what, they closed all their windows, and because they didn't know what might be looking in or lurking in, and that's why they made these sacrifices to appease these tricksters. And he names one, and I forget, it's not the one Irish figure that I know, Balor or whatever, Balor, whatever, how you say it. It's not the one Irish sort of deity or mythological creature that I know. So I don't remember what it was, but yeah. So essentially the plan, I'll lay it out real quick, is to first come to America and over the course of several years build a successful novelty and mask making business. Then, when the time is right, steal a piece of Stonehenge, which you somehow know that even the dust from this stone causes a magical reaction. Then figure out a technology that can allow you to integrate this into a chip that you can place on a mask that will react to the Silver Shamrock song, along with a strobing sweet VGA, like 1980 graphics pumpkin image.
Yeah, we should say if you have epilepsy, don't
don't.
watch this.
You can't be turned into snakes and insects if
Right,
you've got
right,
epilepsy.
right.
And oh, by the way, along the way, you have to invent fully convincing automatons that look like people and run on their own without detailed instruction.
And are filled with like lemon pudding by the looks of it.
In a time before like the
It was
small microprocessors really
Yeah.
existed that were powerful enough to do any of this. And then after you've done all that, distribute those masks, make them a Halloween must-have item, distribute the masks, and then convince every child in the world or in America or whatever to come to a giveaway after a showing of the movie Halloween, by the way, to come to a giveaway at 9:00 to witness your pumpkin strobe light and turn all their heads into snakes.
Yeah, it was never really explained what they told the kids was going to happen. They just kept saying, "Tune in at 9 for the giveaway,
The
giveaway,
giveaway,
the giveaway,
the
the giveaway of what? I don't know."
Your
But-
life.
Yes, but I gotta say, I was thinking, "Ha, joke's on you! My kid goes to bed before 9, or at least he did up until
Yeah.
recently." So yeah, not gonna get like the 4 to 6-year-old set.
He would have
in your
begged. You
sacrifice.
can't. Like, if he was 5 years
doesn't
old, he would
watch-
have begged.
He doesn't watch television.
If
In
Stampy
1982.
said, "Get this Halloween mask,"
Oh,
then he
God.
would have gotten it, and that would have been it. And
What
he would
if-
have begged and begged and begged.
What if Stampy has a plot like this?
He probably does. Again,
We're in
he's in the
trouble.
he's in the building phase right now. Like Colonel
That's true.
Cochran, they show that Cochran is a giant of the novelties industry. That
That's
he
true.
invented the sticky toilet paper,
And that what was it? The soft
The
chainsaw,
soft chainsaw.
and something else. Yeah,
something
those
else.
were those were
and
pretty
also he invented an automated band of Native Americans that quote everyone had in their house as a kid.
good. Yeah, that was a blink and you'll miss it of
yeah,
80s racist jokes.
Sort of.
I don't know what
But
that
and
was.
there's so much. It's difficult to really pin any one thing down. But
There's a lot of layers to
give
this.
give me some more thoughts on this. We'll maybe start wrapping it up here in a minute. What's your takeaway from this? What did you learn about me from watching this?
Well, I already knew you have a twisted sense of humor.
Yeah.
So when did you see this?
Oh, well, that actually, it brings up a good point. I didn't see it until I was probably 20, maybe,
Okay.
because this was, and I'm showing her a picture. This was the VHS.
Okay.
Okay, so it is a snapshot from the movie where some kids are walking against an orange sunset, and they're dressed in various costumes, and above it, there is a ghoulish face that is sort of being sucked up into the Halloween 3 logo. And this is going to be a theme throughout this show, probably. This box terrified me in the video store.
I believe it.
Terrified me.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty scary.
I would go to the horror section every now and then, and I would know, like, because it was alphabetical order, I would know where the ones that scared me, the ones that scared me, and it was very nice of them. Two of the worst were in the H's: Halloween 3 and House. Those two.
I don't even know what House is.
Oh, you'll know.
Not Hellraiser?
The cover of Hellraiser is fine. It's just Pinhead holding the puzzle box.
I find Pinhead terrifying.
But by that time, I'd been exposed enough to him. They filmed Hellraiser 3 in Winston-Salem, so I had actually seen photos of Pinhead on the news, like laughing and smoking a cigarette, by places that I knew in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Your childhood was so weird.
Right? Yeah, and my mom's boyfriend at the time was an extra. And he says you can see him in the movie, but we knew what he was wearing, and we watched it. And I don't know why I watched this movie. This was like, I was way too young to watch this movie.
Yeah, that seems. I'm
And we
not
never
old
saw him,
enough
but
to
he
watch
swears.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, he swears he saw himself
Okay.
in the movie. So yeah, that was terrifying. So that's one of there are going to be several of these where my main memory of the movie isn't from childhood. My biggest childhood memory of this movie is that I was too scared to even want to watch it. And there was nothing preventing me from watching it because my mom was an irresponsible parent and would just rent me anything. We literally had reserved RoboCop, and you haven't seen this yet, but you will. We had reserved RoboCop for the day it came out at the video store that we went to, and I got it and watched it on a Saturday morning, and was traumatized.
And how old were you?
I was however old
I don't
when
know. I don't know.
RoboCop.
I don't
mean,
know.
It's 8, 9.
Oh my gosh.
So And
Yeah.
now I want you to remember this and come back to this memory
Right.
when I make you watch RoboCop on this show. And then imagine our son right now watching
Oh
RoboCop
my god,
and
he
how he would
would
react.
not leave his room for a month.
Yes.
Oh geez.
So yeah, that's the big thing. But then I watched it, and I think really the thing, if I tell you honestly, the thing that I liked about this movie the most, because by the time I watched it, I knew Michael Myers wasn't in it,
Mhm.
so I wasn't set up for the sort of disappointment that a lot of people were. That I admired it for doing something different. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I can see that.
and also by this time I watched all these different anthology movies, Creep Show and Cat's Eye, and these other movies that had like this sort of link between stories, and this like vague link between stories, and some of which John Carpenter made. So I think that was probably my reaction to it. That was like, man, it sure is a bummer that this didn't go on. But
Well, I think it seems to be a lot about how it's packaged, because we've talked about a couple times when they've done sequels long after the fact or remakes, and you think, I would have liked it so much better if it wasn't sold to me as a sequel or a
Yes.
retelling, if it was just
Oh, yeah.
its own thing.
yeah, oh yeah,
So yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
the
I mean-
packaging will make or break a movie, because it sets up your expectations, and if you don't get what you expected, then you hate it, even though it's not the movie's fault. So
yeah. I mean, I think Rob Zombie did a reboot, quote, whatever of Halloween, and it was basically retelling of the first movie, and could have. I mean, I think it's fine. Could have been something. Could have been his own original thing and been
Mhm.
something more.
Mm.
Although he did get to make a sequel, so it must have been successful. But yeah, if this movie hadn't been, first of all, I don't think this movie maybe would have even gotten made if it wasn't attached to John Carpenter and this sort of idea.
There's that too. I can see that.
Yeah, but yeah, Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, it's just a weird 80s horror movie. It's got this weird. So one of the things that you said early on was when they revealed that her dad was a small business owner, and she, Ellie, the daughter, brings up the mall.
Yeah.
The very time and place thing. Replace that with Walmart
Right.
in the late 90s, early 2000s. The mall, like she says, you probably shop at the mall. You said what?
I said, is this going to be a parable about small businesses and the man?
Right, and it some ways, it is for a minute, because they do focus. There's a woman that they meet who's come to pick up masks also, and she has a little bit on how if you're the little guy, they don't respect you. Meaning Silver Shamrock.
Yeah.
And but it morphs into more of a commentary on technology and obsession with television and obsession with things that are popular.
Yeah, it was funny. I was anytime there was any kid and a TV, they were sitting with their eyeballs like 4 inches from the screen.
Oh yeah, the TV was on the floor, of course.
Yes, and at my house we had an invisible line. It was the corner of the hearth where that made a line with like the chair, and we had to sit behind it. My mother did not care. Was not gonna let us ruin our eyes with that. But they're like right there, so it's kind of like they're just.
Oh yeah,
It's like rats with the sugar water. Like you got to
Yeah.
be right up there and sucked in. And
there are movies that do this sort of commentary way better later on that we may or may not watch. But that was a kind of a thing of the 80s. There are these movies that you think of as one thing and are remembered as kind of not having much of a message. And then you look back on them, you're like, oh my God, this is like
you peel
actually,
back the layers.
this is like
and-
biting social commentary. RoboCop, for instance, a biting social commentary on what corporations do to American cities.
Okay,
And
you're really
yeah.
selling this.
yeah,
Like,
you're going to love RoboCop.
okay. Well,
You're-
we'll
you're
see.
gonna
I
love
mean,
it.
I'm saying like you're talking it up and you're setting very high expectations.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But Running Man, like there are other movies of the 80s where you realize like, oh, for me, when I watched this movie as a kid, it was a robot cop shooting guys in extremely graphic ways. But there's more here. There's more to this.
Mhm.
And so a lot of this will be a theme as we watch more and more of these 80s movies. These guys were basically sneaking in. These directors were sneaking in these sort of pointed social commentaries.
Yeah.
Whereas now you'd make that movie and it'd just be 100% commentary and very little of the rest of it. They were 90% the rest of it and 10% commentary. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else to say about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? Because you got to say the whole.
Season of the Witch. I don't understand that subtitle.
Well,
That's
the
just
moon
weird.
and the planets are aligned, so it's time. It's the season for the witches to return. According to Cochrane, it's all aligned, and we're using Stonehenge shavings to create technology. This movie is as ridiculous as it sounds, and this is a movie in a series that is about just a maybe supernatural dude just stabbing people with a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
The first two movies, that's pretty much all it was about.
As with many movies that I see, I want to be a fly on the wall in the writer's room where they come up with this plot line. And my question is, were they consuming Coke or booze to come up with a storyline? Because it was one or the other. Like, this is not
Had to be.
a logical thing that you come up with when you're of sound mind.
Yeah, and I bet whoever wrote this movie probably looks just like Dr. Chalice. He's like, oh, a doughy guy in his 40s with an okay mustache definitely can get a 20-year-old who's sophisticated because she's from LA. Yeah, like there's some
And
yeah, there's a little bit of
kids and ex-wife, who needs them?
yeah, kids and ex-wife. Look at this lady; she dresses so matronly. This other chick like wears a jean jacket, so we're definitely going to do it.
Yeah.
And they do 3 times, 3 documentable times.
3 times.
I would say. Well, because there's the first time when he says, "Oh, should I get another room? Because I don't want to sleep on the floor, really."
Oh, I thought they just kissed then.
Well, it faded to black, so you know what that means.
Universal
that
code
means,
for
that means hoo-ha. Right, exactly. They can probably just hear the friction of your dry, scaly hands as your index finger goes through your.
I'm making the universal sign for penis
doing
and vagina.
So yeah, I would argue if this was a debate show, I would take the position that they did it 3 times.
Okay.
That time, and then another time, and then right after that time, another time.
Yeah, he's a little old for that.
For that kind of stamina.
I feel like
I am probably the age he was at the time that this
he
movie
did say
is.
something like, "Aren't you a little bit tired?" And she's like, "No."
He's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is a crazy movie. Like, should people watch this movie? I guess that's something we need to ask.
I'm going to say you should watch it if you are about our age. And so some of this is going to be nostalgic for you. Like, you're going to enjoy things like somebody smoking a pipe in the hospital.
Yeah, inside the hospital.
And the fact that there are only 3 channels on the TV and dial telephones.
And you can call
and
one
things
television station and get them to stop
all of
broadcasting
them.
on all 3
I
channels.
don't even, yes. So if you're going to enjoy the nostalgia, this is for, you've taken the kids trick-or-treating, you put them to bed, you are exhausted, and you're going to get drunk and watch a stupid, scary movie and go to bed at like 11:30. That's what this is for.
Yeah, turn off your brain. Yeah, there's nothing serious about this movie. Like, it's not.
No.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, and
despite us talking about social commentary, don't worry about that.
No,
stuff.
it's minimal at best. It's this is nowhere near.
You got to really want it.
This is not the best of the best. This isn't just filled to the brim with biting social commentary.
Right. There are no men who are in touch with their emotions here.
No. It's basically just like, it's like, television bad? I guess.
Toys shouldn't kill people.
Right. They're taking a firm stand on toys not killing people.
Yes.
Yeah. So Halloween 3s. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to say, I made that reference to he calls one station. So yeah, the movie ends with a sort of an iconic style of 80s ending, which is basically just like, that's it. Like, it happened.
We're done.
Despite his best efforts, it happened. So he runs to this gas station, the same gas station from before, and the guy who's there goes, "Don't I know you?" Because that guy, they know him, they met. And he runs in and he gets the phone. He's like, "It's a matter of life and death." And he calls the television station, I guess.
And somehow they believe him.
And he says, "I know you won't believe me, but just do it." So some kids come in, they stop with their station wagon to get gassed up.
Trick-or-treating at the gas station?
They're trick-or-treating at the gas station.
I don't know.
Don't judge them. And they're trick-or-treating on a road trip, you know. And they come up to the television, and Silver Shamrock ad is on, and he's trying to get them to stop. He's in the same gas station, trying to get them to stop, and it stops. the kids are like, oh, okay, well, I know that there's more. There's at least 3 channels.
Because it's technical difficulties,
Right.
which no one's had since the 80s, I think.
Oh, no.
But
So they turn to the next channel and it starts, but then technical difficulties. So they turn to the 3rd channel and then it's still on there and it's not stopped. And he says, you got to stop it on the 3rd channel.
and then close up on his face.
And it doesn't stop.
And that's
and,
it.
Yeah. And then that's it.
And you don't know. Well, that's what made me think of Twilight Zone a little bit. Because isn't Twilight Zone like you leave it on a little bit of a cliffhanger? Some of the episodes of that I've seen.
Yeah, many horror anthologies or just horror movies in general. That's it. Like I said, it's sort of a tropish ending to end the movie with the worst, the thing that he fought so hard to prevent actually coming true despite his best efforts.
Yeah,
it's that sort of 1980s soul crushing ending that so many people met in the 80s in actual real life. We're like, no, despite the fact that you played by the rules and you did everything you were supposed to do.
And you killed your android girlfriend. And
Yeah. Now, so this is, I want your opinion on that.
Okay.
When did she become an android?
So I looked on Wikipedia.
Because he definitely wasn't boning an android.
No, he was. Well, so I wondered. I was like, is this from the beginning and she's a setup? But the Wikipedia posits that it was when they kidnapped her that they killed her and replaced her with a robot. And so the person lying in the room.
Yeah, she was never.
She was a robot from the minute he, quote, rescued her.
And that's the genius of Connell Cochran. He planted that seed. There's a part where he actually points her out on the screen and says, where is she? And the villain answers him. He says, oh, she's just over there. She's just in a room right over there. So,
here, watch us kill these people.
Right.
now.
When Chalice inevitably escapes, he of course goes to save her, and then manages to bring about the end of the movie by dumping some buttons all over the androids and the silver shamrock buttons.
Did you notice that their workstations at the end?
Yes.
Are
Did you notice that he said in when talking about Stonehenge, it was a circle of power, and he said some modern circle of power about the computers?
I did not notice.
And so when Cochran meets his ultimate death, which is
he's
when
in the slot where
he's standing in front of the blue stone while the imagery is flashing that we assume activates the power of the blue stone.
Yeah, you would think you would stay away from the big one.
Yeah, or
if
just run away.
Some dust is going to cause the best
problems. Part, we were wrapping this up, but we're finding new things to talk about.
Yes.
The best part is he after Chalice dumps all these silver shamrock buttons that have the dust in them that causes people's heads to turn to snakes. He just looks up. Cochran just looks up to the catwalk where they're at, and he just gives them like a 3 clap, and then they run away, but Cochran stays in place so that the stone can activate, the ring of computers light up, and then energy arcs through him. Yeah, he turns into a tinfoil version of himself, and then disappears.
Yeah, some of these people are very slow to react when disaster is in their path.
Yes.
Like at the beginning, a dude is running from the car and he comes around a curve and he stops for like a full 30 seconds to see if the car is still following him. And it is. And then he keeps running.
Right,
and
then
like,
he goes.
No, you keep running or hide in a dark spot or.
Yes. Yeah. This movie is just, it's a fun time. I will say that it's a fun horror movie. There's a couple of scares. There's a couple of gross outs.
Yes. I'm going to say if you're under 30, 35, it's just going to seem old and lame.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's someone who's 40 plus, 30, let's say 35 plus for sure. Probably had a grandma that had a tube television that sat on the floor in a wood paneling box.
It's going to tick your nostalgia box.
Yeah. And, they need to know the phone numbers for places, and they don't have a phone book handy, so they call information.
Yeah.
They call the operator.
Mm-hmm.
And they use telephones, like actual on-the-wall telephones.
And women wear culottes.
Yeah.
And yes, there was, for not having a lot of women in this movie, there was some great fashion.
Oh, yeah.
And I say great with air quotes.
Yeah. Air quotes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and Don Chalice had them all.
He did. I'm surprised he didn't hit on that elderly woman in the factory office who she had a better Irish accent than the factory owner.
Yeah, the best Irish accent in this movie is the hotel guy.
That's true.
Yeah. 100%. Cochran you could have told me he's from, posh town in Britain, and I believe you.
I would have said New Jersey.
He sounds like the dad from The Nanny. Like,
He sounds like Mr. Sheffield.
Mr. Sheffield, like, just like he sounds like he would constantly be just put off by things that common people are doing. Oh, I say, but he's great. The whole thing, great. Well, we're going to keep finding stuff to talk about, and we're like 40 minutes into this, so we gotta. It's been a spirited and lovely discussion, and I feel like we've covered a lot
Yes.
in this one. But yeah, watch Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Have liquor handy.
Yes, that will help for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And or drink every time you hear that creepy song.
Oh,
If you really want to get blitzed, I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, I would say get like a Coors Light or like a Bud Light, because you're not going to want to be doing shots.
No.
You're just not. 'Cause
Your snakes will come out of your head on their own if you
yes,
take shots with this.
yes, they will. All right. On that note,
All right.
Remember, the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
fine with ending on that,
Yes.
on the music. We don't need a proper sign off.
I think ending with some sort of musical cue is probably a good idea because we're just gonna
Sure.
keep
Yeah, but
talking.
I mean, I do think we need like a all right, bye. But yeah, I think music,
Yes,
music at the end, sure.
yes.
The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io. Okay, we are now actually recording. So
Okay.
on your
Okay.
go.
I gotta get my yawn out. Okay. Ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I feel tired. I'm drained.
Literally.
Yeah.